Welcome to Helicopters for Heroes. I'm your host, Alexa Economos, and it's a pleasure to be able to share the story and the mission behind a nonprofit that's been changing lives for 6 years now. I'd like to introduce to you founder Philip Brooks and board member Brian Bushey. So Philip, for people who aren't familiar with Helicopters for Heroes, perhaps they've never heard of it before, what is the mission of your nonprofit?
Basically, the mission for me is to get the people who have never been around a soldier or been around our heroes to come out and recognize them for the sacrifices they've made. Too many times I see a news clip come across and it's 10 seconds talking about 20 guys who were killed in a helicopter crash in Afghanistan or wherever they're out serving. And you never really get the value of that life that's been given until you meet these guys who have sacrificed everything to go fight for our country. And I want that newscast to mean something to these people whenever they hear about a soldier dying.
And you really had an aha moment, didn't you, when you were getting to that point, getting close to creating Helicopters for Heroes, where you thought the youth especially need to understand the sacrifices that have been made?
I did. And, what happened is I was invited to a weekend, and I never fought in any wars, or I never served. And so even I had no realization about what these sacrifices were. I was invited to a weekend getaway with a bunch of injured soldiers by Dave Faraday, who's a major supporter. And I took my 9-year-old son with me. And whenever I took my 9-year-old son, these soldiers just gravitated to him. They wanted to show him how they do things. They shot him, they were telling him how to shoot. They were, and all these guys were missing limbs, burns all over their bodies. And my son had never been around that. And it really didn't hit me until we were on vacation in Steamboat Springs. And my son, how they World War II veterans, the old men will wear the hat and the vest. And my son was probably 30 yards in front of me. And after him spending time with these soldiers, he walked straight up to the veteran, shook his hand, introduced himself, and said, "Thank you for your service."
Wow.
And that's when I realized that everyone in our situation that have the freedom that these guys have sacrificed for need to meet these guys. They need to understand what these guys give every day. Not only injured soldiers, but being away from their families.
What the
for
families
such a
give
long
too.
period. Sure, the families.
The family sacrifice as well.
You're exactly right.
And so Helicopters for Heroes was born, and there's a huge event every February for 6 years now, where you're really bringing together so many veterans, but also the community. And
Yes.
that's where you met Brian, correct? Or that's how
is.
Brian became involved?
Yeah, Brian came to one of our events, and my key at the end of the event is to have someone walk up to me and just say, "I get it." In every event, these people who have never been around these guys, I will have 3 or 4 adults that come out to me, and even the kids say, "I am doing this again. This is amazing," and I get it. And that's what I want them to have, the same realization as I did whenever I got that moment. And if we could spread the word, that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, one person at a time.
One person at a time.
So-
And Brian was one of those guys.
So Brian, for you, first of all, for someone who's never been to the event before, can you paint that picture for us of what you experienced when you went for the first time?
I think it's like what Philip touched on, just experiencing that, being around veterans for the first time who, have been to war, have fought for our country, have done so much for us, and to interact with them on a one-on-one basis, to hear their stories, what they've been through, how much they've sacrificed for us. It's pretty moving, and it makes you want to be part of something bigger than yourself, to get involved, to give back. There's too many of these guys out there that have given so much of their lives and their families' lives, and it's time for us to give back to them. So it's a great way for us to do that.
And you were also saying that not only is it a chance for the community to try to walk in those shoes, but also to get all of these veterans together for one weekend and to see that camaraderie must be really incredible.
Yeah, to have them all in one place at one time, and the biggest thing too is for them to be enjoying themselves. So any problems that they might face in their regular daily lives, all that is kind of put aside for a few hours or a few days, and to have them enjoy and see the joy on their faces and interact with one another. It's a great avenue for them to do that.
And the helicopters, they're of course a big part of the event. So they're going up in helicopters on hog hunts, correct? But I think the thing that's so incredible about this is for many of these veterans, it might be the first time they've gotten into a helicopter or handled a gun really since they were taken in and out of combat. Is that correct?
That's correct. I mean, I'd actually say the majority of these guys, you know, the problem is these guys, they're injured, they're carried off the battlefield in a helicopter. And then there's no socialization that the government gives these soldiers when they come back into the civilian life. And they train them for years to be warriors, but yet there's no training to come back in.
To reintegrate.
To reintegrate.
Right.
And that's one thing I think we're missing.
Yeah.
With the military.
Which is going to lead us to one of our conversations with 22 Kill, which is a nonprofit that, you know, of course, works with veterans who are trying to reintegrate, and we're going to get to that in just a couple of minutes. So the important thing also to note is that you are essentially raising money for other nonprofits or your other beneficiaries who are helping veterans. So every year there are beneficiaries. How does that work? How much do you give them? How much have you given so far?
So what we do is every year as a board, we get together and we try to find the groups that are doing the most. We try to find the ones that are giving the majority of the proceeds back to the soldiers themselves or the soldiers' families. So we do a lot of research on that end. And then, you know, we switch it up every year. We've had several over the past 6 years. And, you know, so far we've raised approximately $350,000, which I wish was more.
That's a lot, though.
Yeah, it is. We're trying to grow it.
accomplishment.
And, you know, the event's it's expensive to put on. We typically take $200,000 just to put the weekend on. And anything over that, we're able to get back. And it's a wonderful event, and we're going to keep doing it and keep trying to grow it. So.
Well, in 6 years, it's incredible to see how Helicopters for Heroes has evolved. And I know it will just continue to evolve and to grow. And thank you so much for what you are doing for our veterans.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's take a look now at some news coverage Helicopters for Heroes recently received from Fox 4 News in Dallas.
Helicopters for Heroes is a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping and uplifting veterans by raising money to help those who've sacrificed so much. This year's event is in Ennis, and as Fox 4's James Rose shows us, an aerial hog hunt is therapeutic for some wounded warriors.
And it's not the hunting part, it's being with other veterans.
Marine veteran Corporal Patrick Myers has overcome much since 2005 when an IED took both of his legs in Iraq.
This is true therapy. You know, this is what heals me.
It's the camaraderie he looks forward to most with the Helicopters for Heroes event, a 3-day weekend in Ennis filled with food, entertainment, and hunting wild hogs from helicopters. The dinners and concerts and ceremonies are a powerful show of support to these wounded warriors, but for many of them, it's not till they ride in a helicopter, much like the one that took them into and out of combat, does the past become the present and the healing can begin.
We have some guys here that haven't been on a helicopter or had a firearm in their hand since they left the battlefield.
Philip Brooks founded the nonprofit several years ago after his 9-year-old son thanked a World War II veteran for his service. Brooks, who never served himself, decided to serve those who did.
That was my epiphany. It gave me chill bumps.
It's just a rush.
In 2012, Army veteran Sergeant Will Hoyam was wounded by an IED in Afghanistan.
When was the last time you were in a helicopter?
When I got medevaced. That was my last time. I got picked up in Afghanistan, flown to Bagram.
This was Hoyam's first experience, not likely to be his last.
This sort of thing's good for healing. It's always good to be around other people who actually understand what you're saying, and most people don't get what you're talking about. So that definitely makes it a lot easier.
In Ennis, James Rose, Fox 4 News.
There are still sponsorship opportunities for tomorrow's event, which include another hunt, dinner, an auction, and entertainment. Proceeds from Helicopters for Heroes go directly to veterans charities.
Welcome back to Helicopters for Heroes. Our next guest is John Wayne Walding. You may have heard of him and his story. He served 12 years in the military, has received countless awards for valor, and has had a career filled with sacrifice and so many accomplishments. John Wayne, it's so great to be here with you today.
It's good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Before we talk about Helicopters for Heroes, we first of all want to talk about why so many people are already familiar with you. Many people have heard your story about your time in the military, and particularly the battle at Shock Valley. But for those people who haven't before, could you tell us about that? What was a 6-hour battle?
Sure. You know, I always say you probably think I'm taller, right? John Wayne, born on the 4th of July,
Born on
Green
the 4th of
Beret,
July,
from
right.
Texas,
All-American.
And John Wayne was in the movie, The Green Berets,
Yeah.
right? So it's kind of hard to live that one down.
Yeah.
But the Battle of Shock Valley was a day that it was one of the best, but the worst, but best days of my life, right? It was a day where 15 Americans went up against 250 Taliban. And after
250.
About 200 to 250, maybe in 5 more years it'll be 300, and but yeah, it was 6.5 hours, 70 danger close airstrikes, the Medal of Honor, Air Force Cross, 9 Silver Stars, and 8 Purple Hearts were awarded on that battle.
My goodness, on that battle. And if you were to go to John Wayne's website, which is johnwaynewalding.com, you get a better sense, and I did at least, of exactly what you were facing during that battle.
It was a long day at the office, for sure.
They had the upper ground. I mean,
Correct.
Essentially, you were going up a mountain, and
Yeah, we
we're not
scaled the
expecting
mountain
250.
and we bit off more than we can chew that day. But fortunately, with the brothers to my left and right and those in the air above us, we won.
And that is how you became wounded. That is
Yes,
how
ma'am.
You
I
lost
lost my leg in that day, and that's the day I tell people I learned the meaning of the word can't. I can't walk. As a 27-year-old Green Beret that can jump out of airplanes, climb mountains, I can do anything. If I wanted to be a ballerina, I could, right? Now I can't. No matter how hard I try, no matter how much effort that I ever give, I cannot walk. And that is a gut punch that I hope nobody ever has to feel. And that's what events like helping Helicopters for Heroes does for people like me. And that's why I give back so much, because I always say it's that hamster falling off the wheel, right? Whenever I get shot, it falls off and it doesn't want to do anything. And you learn that word, I can't do this. How am I going to have a job? Well, when Helicopter for Heroes comes and you're out there, you get to shoot a gun, something that's a very big deal for a military service member, right? Not only are you trained with it, but you're also very accountable for it, right? So you have to always have this item with you. And now you get shot, blown up, you don't ever have it again. And so you have that sense of, worth gone. And so to grab a weapon again and have that, that little buddy that you've always had with you, your buddy's there again. And not only is your buddy there again, but you're flying in helicopters doing the same thing that you were doing when you got shot. In fact, some people, this is the first time they've been on an aircraft since being medevaced, right? And so it's just it puts that hamster back on the wheel that says, I can. Correct, I can't walk, but I can with the help of great Americans like, Helicopters for Heroes to tell us that our sacrifice was worth it. I can do that. And that's why I've run the Dallas Marathon. That's why I have companies. That's why I give back. And I'm with those brothers that they get it. And they don't want to just be a citizen, but a successful citizen, right?
And you say that so quickly. I run the Dallas Marathon, but just FYI, the New York Marathon,
I did that,
the Boston Marathon, you've
well, I did
accomplished.
Boston in New York on a hand crank, but I finished 4th place. So who knew?
I mean, which is just incredible.
Right.
So you've been with Helicopters for Heroes since its inception, and during that weekend, you're working with wounded veterans.
Right.
And what is it like to spend time with them? What do you say to someone who might have lost all hope and is trying to reintegrate
Well, what I always tell them
society?
is you owe it to the fallen to live well. There's 30 names that are embroidered on the center console of my truck of buddies that are dead. Not hurt, not deployed, but dead. And as a military guy, you don't know how to deal with that, right? Especially being a civilian now. And if their life matters that much to where I need to go out and, and drink a beer and get drunk or do all this, you know what? By God, I owe it to them to live well, to have a good life, to experience great things, to get out of that bed, get out of that house, and go be great. Not good, but be great. And that's what this event is, and that's what I try to teach these. Not teach, they're grown men and women. They know what to do, but just help them. What's helped me with my journey is I stopped being good and I stopped being great so I can live well for the fallen. And then for me personally, that's not doing alcohol, right? That's not being on the pain medication. That's focusing on great events like what Helicopters for Heroes is. That's focusing on, your brothers to the left and right that are still with you to help them be great.
To someone who has never served before, or to Philip's point about connecting with youth and sort of helping them understand the sacrifices, and you're a father of 4.
Right,
So
right.
you've got little ones.
Absolutely.
What would your message be to them?
Never underestimate the magnitude of what the 2 words "thank you" mean to a veteran.
Yeah.
If you don't believe me, ask a Vietnam guy. Vietnam guys, they didn't choose to go. They were chosen. They were drafted. Excuse me. I chose to go. And I did my job, and I did what I was supposed to do. What happened to them when they got back? They got spit on, got called baby killers. What do I get? I get a bear hug from Americans that says thank you. I get events, like I could never afford to fly in a helicopter. I could never afford to go buy a machine gun and do the things that I did before. But with great Americans that put on Helicopters for Heroes, I can. So that thank you, that's that mental validation that says everybody, even you, it's not just military centric. You have to answer that question: is this worth it? Right? Well, that thank you to me, it makes it worth it. That's why when you say thank you to me, I don't say you're welcome. I say you're worth it. You're worth the holidays that I've missed. You're worth the Christmas that I've seen on a TV screen saying Merry Christmas to my kids. You're worth those 30 buddies that I buried. You're worth it. And that's what I want people to know is just that thank you, that relationship from civilian, to the military servicemen and women. We don't want, anything other than just your validation and your thanks.
If there is a wounded veteran who's listening or watching right now, who's never been to Helicopters for Heroes, thinking maybe of going in February, what would you say to him or her?
I would say to him and her, it does not suck. It is a great event.
It does not suck.
Excuse me. Yeah.
That needs to be a bumper sticker.
Yeah. H4H does not suck. Yeah.
Does not suck.
No, it's a great time. It's a great event. It's rejoice in relationships with others. And again, just living well. Go be great.
That'd be great. Well, you make it sound so easy. You are great.
Yeah, I'm a simpleton, right?
And
just don't suck at life, John. Just be great. It's that easy.
Well, you are great.
Well, thank you.
And I want to say thank you.
You're worth it.
Thank you for our service. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
John Wayne has received countless honors, including the Silver Star, the Bronze Star, and the Purple Heart. You can learn more about him at johnwaynewalding.com. Welcome back to Helicopters for Heroes. Our next guest is Dan Lombardo, who served in the Air Force and is also chairman of the board for 22 Kill, a nonprofit that helps veterans and that was also a beneficiary of funds from Helicopters for Heroes. Dan, it's so good to be here with you today.
It's good to be here.
For those people who aren't familiar, first of all, with 22 Kill, talk to us about the name of the nonprofit and what is the mission of the nonprofit?
Well, the name is a call sign is where it got started. Is a Marine started it, and then we developed it into a board ran 501c3. But Kill was a call sign. That call sign is, a Marine would say, kill if it's good, kill if something bad happens. And 22 Kill stands for the 22 veterans that we lose every day in the United States. So it's a call sign to
Every
America.
day.
Every day.
And we lose them due to
Suicide. Yes. And that's a hard thing for
That's a
people that serve
stunning number.
to accept. And the other thing is we lose a first responder 1 every 8 hours. People don't know that as well. We also serve first responders because the way we look at it, a warrior's a warrior. And when we were overseas, everyone knew that the first responders had our back. They had our six. So they're just as important, and people need to know that. So that's how 22 Kills started. And our mission is mental health, is to, through PTSD and TBI, traumatic brain injuries, is a lot of these soldiers, men and women, are going through a lot of pressures when they come back home. And just when you leave service, to have that camaraderie, your brothers and sisters with you every day, when you leave that in the civilian life and you're trying to figure out where you fit in this world, sometimes it's very difficult to find that place. And so one thing, the most important thing is love, is I think 22 Kill is love, because we do love our brothers and sisters that served, and we do want to help them and empower them to become comfortable and make sure that they understand who they are, that they're still warriors, and how we can help them in the future.
And that they're not alone, right?
Oh, one thing that veterans do better than everyone, I say, is the camaraderie of hey, I have your back, I have your six. So that's a very important thing with us, is that you'll see if you go to a 22 Kill event, of course, we wear the rings, and that's for the awareness and for everyone that lost. But also, you'll see the first thing we do is hug each other, because it's very important to make somebody relax, understanding that you're part of our tribe. So we give a hug and let our brothers and sisters know that, we're family.
And 22 Kill was a beneficiary
Yes.
of Helicopters for Heroes and received, I believe, $27,000 last year
Correct.
from the event.
Correct.
That goes to helping the veterans that you helped to try to reintegrate into society. When you first went to the event, what was your reaction?
Well, the first thing and the most important thing is that, and just for people that are watching this, is to know this is veterans that come all over the United States.
All over.
And they come in, and of course they're a little reserved. They've seen the videos. Somebody may have told them you want to come to this event. But when they get there, the relationships and the camaraderie that exists, that it's like they knew these people forever. And you'll see from day 1 to day 3, just almost like they've known them their whole entire lives. And that's a huge part of this event. So it's not only being in a helicopter, it's not only shooting a weapon, but it's having that camaraderie of having brothers and sisters that you get to meet with, and also hear their stories, and also their stories of survival and how they're making it, things they've done. So it's a very therapeutic event, and it's definitely something that 22 Kill will always be a part of, because it is very therapeutic and it's very empowering.
I'd like to mention that 22 Kill wasn't the only beneficiary of the most recent Helicopters for Heroes. There was also Honor, Courage, Commitment, as well as North Texas Hunter for Heroes. And this year's beneficiaries include Folds of Honor, Task Force Dagger Foundation, and American Valor Foundation, which was founded by Chris Kyle's father and his brother. And can you speak to, once again, why you will continue to be so deeply involved with Helicopters for Heroes?
Well, one thing is that, we love, of course, receiving funds that help us grow, but that's just part of it. It's teaming up with people in our tribe, and we consider them part of our tribe because they're doing the right thing. They're saying thank you to our veterans. They're bringing people in. They're changing lives. And what people don't understand is that veteran that's sitting at home that may have lost several wounds, the leg wounds and the arm wounds, that they're going through some physical stuff, but it's the mental aspect that's the hardest thing to cure.
It's a mountain.
Because a veteran can be tough and find a way that, hey, I'll get a prosthetic leg, I'll get a prosthetic arm, but who am I? How has that changed? How am I changed? How am I received now? Where will I find a job? How will I educate myself? Am I not that person anymore? And the one thing Helicopters for Heroes does, just like 22 Kill does, is empower and embrace those people, let them know, oh my gosh, you are still that warrior. That warrior's still there and will always be there. And then being able to do those things again, being able to be up in a helicopter, being able to shoot again, gives the empowerment back. I still have this. I can still do this. And then also, when they go through tough times, they talk to the other veterans there and say, how did you cope with this? So when I say very therapeutic, because veterans that have climbed that mountain, who have gone over that and now have some healing, they love showing how they did it, which is something that 22 Kill really embraces, is you never graduate from 22 Kill. You go through our programs, and it's just to make you stronger and empower you, and that we want you to stay in our group and to help empower others, because it's nothing better than when you have something that's obstructing you, that you have a brother or sister that tells you, I went through there, but you know what? This too shall pass. This too shall pass. So it's very important.
So powerful. Helicopters, heroes, healing. I want to thank you so much for your service.
Oh, thank you, and
Thank
thank
you.
you for letting us have this time to talk.
It's truly been a pleasure. Thank you.
Awesome.
You can learn more about 22 Kill by visiting its website, 22kill.com. Welcome back. We've so enjoyed learning more about the mission of Helicopters for Heroes. There are so many ways that you can also get involved. You can attend the event in Ennis in February. Again, that's Helicopters for Heroes. You can donate, and you can also sponsor. For more information, you can find Helicopters for Heroes on Facebook and also at helicoptersforheroes.com.